Smile and learn.
Hello, how are you feeling today? I'm sure that you've been asked this question more than once. Maybe sometimes it's hard to answer. In an art contest, I submitted my creation and won first place. I put a lot of work into it and I liked the way it turned out. I felt a tingling in my chest and a pleasant warmth in my body. Almost like a hug. I felt like I was floating on clouds. I was so proud of my work and of being recognized for it. It was a very nice feeling. Has that ever happened to you? If we don't understand our emotions, we can feel frustrated, confused, or uncomfortable because we don't know how to react. The sensations we feel in our bodies can give us clues as to what emotions we are feeling. They can also show what others are feeling. Today, we're going to focus on one of the basic emotions: happiness. It is a normal emotion that is a response to pleasant situations or satisfaction from an achievement. Happiness produces a pleasant sensation that makes our body react in a certain way. It is important to keep in mind that happiness, besides being a pleasant emotion, is very important because it helps us to identify what we like, enjoy, and value. Happiness also helps us create good memories that we may need in hard times. We already know what happiness is, but have you ever stopped to think about how it affects your body? When you're happy, you may feel lighter and notice tingling in your body. You may feel like laughing. And when you're really happy, you may even feel like showing it with your whole body by jumping or dancing. Your face also reflects how you feel. You can show happiness with a smile. And sometimes it can even look like your eyes are sparkling. People around you can also perceive your happiness, and this affects your environment. Happiness is usually quite contagious. Isn't that nice? Happiness is a lovely emotion to share with others. People around you will feel happy when they see that you are happy. This type of relationship helps us to create closer relationships and feel valued and supported. Do you remember the situation I told you about at the beginning when I won that art contest? Everyone there congratulated me and were happy to see me so happy. It's a wonderful memory. Learning to identify the bodily sensations that emotions create is very useful. Then we can understand them better and express them to others. See you next time. Hi, how are you today? I'm sure answering this question isn't always easy. Last night, I was hanging out at home with my little brother when suddenly the power went out. Everything went dark. I couldn't see anything and I started to hear weird noises all around me. My heart was beating fast and my breathing was quick and short. My muscles tensed. I got goosebumps, and my palms were sweating. It was so dark and the noises were so creepy. It was a super scary feeling. Has this ever happened to you? If we don't understand our emotions, we can feel frustrated, confused, or uncomfortable because we don't know how to react. The sensations we feel in our bodies can give us clues as to what emotions we are feeling. They can also help us to identify what others are feeling. Today, we're going to focus on one of the basic emotions: fear. It's a natural response to something that can hurt us, or something real or imaginary that seems dangerous. It's an uncomfortable feeling and makes our bodies react in a certain way. It's important to keep in mind that although fear is an unpleasant emotion, it is very necessary. It helps us to be careful in dangerous situations, and also to react quickly to them, like by hiding, facing the threat, or running away. So now you know what fear is, but have you ever stopped to think about how it affects your body? When you get scared, you feel your heart beating faster. Your muscles tense up. You might even shake. Your breathing becomes short and fast, as if you're getting ready to run away. Your hands may also get sweaty, or you might get goosebumps. Yikes! Your face also reflects how you feel. If you're scared, you're likely to show it by opening your eyes wide, paying attention to what's around you, raising your eyebrows, or even opening your mouth to take in more air. People around you can also sense your fear. This can affect their own emotions or how they interact with you. But while fear can be very useful in helping us defend ourselves from danger, we can also learn to manage it so that it doesn't hold us back. For example, when you're scared, you can try taking deep, slow breaths until your body relaxes. Try it. Most of the time, you'll see that what you're scared of isn't as big of a deal as you thought. Want to hear a secret? Everyone gets scared from time to time. Yeah, even adults. So don't worry if you have to ask someone for help. Sometimes just having someone listen and support you is enough to make you feel better. Do you remember the situation I told you about at the beginning when the lights went out and there were strange noises? I was pretty scared. But I took a deep breath, and when I calmed down a bit, I decided to look for a flashlight. When I turned it on, I realized that the noises were just my little brother. He had woken up and was playing on the couch. I wasn't scared anymore, and I was able to think clearly. I realized it was all in my imagination, and I relaxed completely. I even laughed about it. Learning to identify the bodily sensations that emotions create is very useful. This way, we can understand our emotions better and express them to others. See you next time. Hi, how are you today? I'm sure answering this question isn't always easy. The other day, I had a really important soccer game. It was for the championship final, and my team and I had trained really hard, but it wasn't our best day and we lost the game. I felt like I had a huge weight in my chest, and I started breathing slower and deeper. I couldn't believe that after working so hard, we lost such an important game. It was awful. Has this ever happened to you? If we don't understand our emotions, we can feel frustrated, confused, or uncomfortable because we don't know how to react. The sensations we feel in our bodies can give us clues as to what emotions we are feeling. They can also help us to identify what other people are feeling. Today we're going to talk about one of the most basic emotions, sadness. It's a normal response when we lose something or someone, when we get disappointing news, or when we're in an unhappy situation. Sadness creates an unpleasant sensation like a heaviness. It makes our bodies feel a certain way. But it's important to remember that even though sadness is unpleasant, it's super necessary. It helps us to adapt to something we weren't expecting, or even to a new reality. It also helps us to take a moment to reflect. Being sad makes us realize how valuable people and things are to us. It helps us to recognize and feel other emotions too. So, now we know what sadness is. Have you ever stopped to think how it affects your body? When you're sad, you might feel like there's a huge weight on your chest or throughout your entire body. You might not even want to move. Your shoulders slump and your breathing may become slower and deeper. Sometimes you feel a lump in your throat like you're about to cry. Your face also reflects what you're feeling. Your head might hang down. You might look at the ground, tense your eyebrows, frown, or even tears might come out of your eyes. The people around you can feel your sadness. This can affect how they feel and how they interact with you. In fact, they might ask how you're feeling and how they can help. Even though it's natural, learning to manage your sadness is important for your well-being. You can try going out for a walk, listening to happy music, or doing a physical activity in order to feel better. Try it. You'll see it can help a lot. We can also think about who we can talk to when we feel this way. We don't have to be sad alone. Sometimes, someone simply listening and supporting us can be enough to make us feel better. Remember in the beginning when I told you about losing my soccer game? We were all really sad, but our coach and parents helped us to see that losing is part of life. We can always learn from it to be better in the future. They also congratulated us on how hard we worked and encouraged us to keep practicing. My sadness didn't disappear immediately, but feeling supported helped me feel a little better. Learning to identify the bodily sensations that emotions create is very useful. This way, we can understand our emotions better and express them to others. See you next time. Hi, how are you today? I'm sure answering this question isn't always easy. Yesterday, I wanted to wear my favorite sweatshirt to my best friend's birthday party, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked and I looked for it, and then I saw that my brother was wearing it. And worst of all, it had a giant ice cream stain on it. I clearly couldn't wear it to the party anymore. I felt my body get hot, and my face turned red. My heart was pounding. It was not a nice feeling. Has this ever happened to you? If we don't understand our emotions, we can feel frustrated, confused, or uncomfortable because we don't know how to react. The sensations we feel in our bodies can give us clues as to what emotions we are feeling. They can also help us to identify what others are feeling. Today we're going to focus on one of the basic emotions, anger. It's also known as rage when it's very intense. Anger is a natural emotion. It's a response to frustration, injustice, or getting annoyed. It produces an unpleasant and upsetting feeling and causes our bodies to react in a certain way. It's important to keep in mind that although anger is an unpleasant feeling, it's necessary and helps us identify what we don't agree with. It can also give us the motivation to act on something. So, now we know what anger is, but have you ever stopped to think about how it affects your body? When you get angry, you might feel your heart beating faster. Your muscles may tense up like they're getting ready for action. Your breathing might become faster and more irregular. Sometimes your palms may get sweaty. You may start to feel hot or even like you're about to explode. Your face also reflects what you're feeling. You may show it by frowning or clenching your jaw, for example. People around you can also sense your anger, and this can affect how they interact with you. Although it's normal to get angry from time to time, learning to manage anger is very good for our well-being and also prevents us from reacting in ways we might regret later. For example, you can try taking a deep breath or slowly counting to 10 before reacting to the source of your anger. There are also some techniques to help us understand our anger, such as writing about it in a journal. Even sometimes just calmly talking about how we feel can be a big help. Give it a try. You'll see how much better you feel. We can also think about who we can talk to when we feel this way. We don't have to be angry alone. Sometimes someone simply listening and supporting us can be enough to make us feel better. Remember the situation I told you about at the beginning when I realized I couldn't wear my favorite sweatshirt? I was really angry and annoyed that my brother had taken it without asking me. But then I slowly counted to 10. And when I calmed down a bit, I told him how I felt. He was sorry for what he had done and apologized to me. My anger didn't disappear instantly, but taking a deep breath and talking about how I felt helped me to feel a little calmer. Then, my brother offered me his favorite sweatshirt to wear to the party. In the end, we found a solution. Learning to identify the bodily sensations that emotions create is very useful. This way, we can understand our emotions better and express them to others. See you next time. Hi, how are you today? I'm sure answering this question isn't always easy. The other day on my way to school, I was super focused on going over the presentation I had first period. So focused that I didn't see the step in front of me, and I tripped and fell. I got up as fast as I could and looked around. I was sure someone would laugh or make fun of me. I could feel my cheeks running hot, and my heart started beating faster. I felt like I couldn't look anyone in the eye, and I wanted to run away. It was not a nice feeling. Has this ever happened to you? If we don't understand our emotions, we can feel frustrated, confused, or uncomfortable because we don't know how to react. The sensations we feel in our bodies can give us clues as to what emotions we're feeling. They can also help us to identify what others are feeling. Today we're going to focus on one of the complex emotions, embarrassment. It's a natural emotion that we feel as a response to when we do something wrong and worry that other people might think negative things about us. It produces an unpleasant feeling that makes our body react in a certain way. It's important to keep in mind that, although embarrassment is an unpleasant emotion, it's very necessary and helps us to adjust how we act in any given moment. In fact, it can help us to act more appropriately in social situations and empathize with others. So, now we know what embarrassment is, but have you ever stopped to think about how it affects your body? When you feel embarrassed, you may feel your heart start to beat faster. You also may feel your whole body start to heat up and the muscles in your neck and shoulders may tighten. Sometimes your palms may become sweaty, and you might feel like running away. Your face also reflects how you feel. For example, your cheeks may turn red, and you may look down. The people around you can sense that you are embarrassed too. This can affect how they interact with you. Learning to manage your embarrassment is very important for your well-being. You can try taking a deep breath when you feel this way. Remember, we all make mistakes, but there's always a solution. Why would this time be any different? Give it a try. You'll see how much better you feel. We can also think about who we can talk to when we feel this way. We don't have to feel embarrassed alone. Sometimes someone simply listening and supporting us can be enough to make us feel better. Do you remember the situation I told you about at the beginning when I tripped on the way into school? I was so embarrassed, but really few people saw it. A friend noticed, came over to help me, and asked if I was okay. My embarrassment didn't disappear instantly, but by taking a deep breath and remembering it can happen to anyone, I felt more relaxed. Learning to identify the bodily sensations that emotions create is very useful. This way, we can understand our emotions better and express them to others. See you next time. Hi, how are you today? I'm sure answering this question isn't always easy. The other day, when I got home from school, I opened the door and all my friends and family were there. It was my birthday, and they were throwing me a surprise party. There were balloons, presents, and a giant cake. My jaw dropped, and I was breathless. My eyes opened wide, and my heart skipped a beat. It was a really nice feeling. Has this ever happened to you? If we don't understand our emotions, we can feel frustrated, confused, or uncomfortable because we don't know how to react. The sensations we feel in our bodies can give us clues as to what emotions we're feeling. They can also help us to identify what others are feeling. Today we're going to talk about one of the complex emotions, surprise. It's a natural emotion that happens in response to something unexpected. It can make you feel astonished, puzzled, or even a bit nervous. It's a very short-lived emotion, and there's always another emotion that follows it, like happiness or sadness. It just depends on what caused the surprise. It's important to keep in mind that surprise is a very necessary emotion. It helps us to explore, and it awakens our curiosity and interest. It prompts us to figure out what to do in an unexpected situation. So, now we know what surprise is, but have you ever stopped to think about how it affects your body? When you're surprised, you may feel your heart start to beat faster. You may notice a slight tingling in your body. And you may even feel you need to stop and catch your breath. Occasionally, if surprise is very strong, you might feel like your heart skipped a beat. Your face also reflects what you feel. When you're surprised, you usually open your eyes and mouth wide. Sound familiar? Sometimes a situation can be so surprising that it makes us feel confused. When this happens, we can turn to others for help to understand what happened. Sometimes someone simply listening and supporting us can be enough to make us feel better. Do you remember the situation I told you about at the beginning, when all my friends and family threw me a surprise birthday party? It was quite unexpected and I was very excited. So, after a few seconds of surprise, I felt super happy. Learning to identify the bodily sensations that emotions create is very useful. This way, we can understand our emotions better and express them to others. See you next time! Hello, how are you feeling today? I'm sure sometimes it's a little difficult to answer that question. Yesterday I was enjoying my favorite pizza, but when I took a bite, I felt something weird in my mouth. Then I saw it was a hair. Yuck! It was so gross. I felt a knot in my stomach and I couldn't wait to clean out my mouth. I must have looked ridiculous because my friends started to laugh.
Disgust is a natural reaction that helps keep us safe from things that can harm us, like spoiled food or unpleasant situations.
That's right, Smiley. Let's take a closer look. Disgust is a basic emotion that we feel when something is unpleasant or uncomfortable. It's like an internal alarm that protects us from possible dangers to our health or well-being. When we feel disgust, our body reacts. You might feel a knot in your stomach, or you might feel unwell. You may even feel like throwing up. Or you might feel like covering your nose or moving away quickly. Our expression also changes. We wrinkle our nose, purse our lips, and squint our eyes. These signals don't just help us understand our feelings, they also tell others that something is not right. When we feel disgust, we can respond in many ways. We might move away, cover our mouths, or even feel ill. This can be useful so that others understand that something is not right. But it is also important to learn to manage the emotion in an appropriate way. If you feel disgusted, first try to identify the cause. If it is something you can avoid, like an unpleasant smell, move away. If it's not possible to avoid it, try to breathe through your mouth or concentrate on something else until the feeling passes. Sometimes drinking a glass of water can also help. We don't always have to face disgust alone. Asking for help is okay, even if it's just for help cleaning up. Do you remember the pizza situation? It was pretty gross, but in the end I learned something important. My body was trying to protect me. I identified the thing that caused my disgust, and you're not gonna believe it, but it turned out that the hair was mine! So I grabbed another slice of pizza and continued to enjoy it. Learning to recognize sensations of disgust in the body helps us understand this emotion and use it in a positive way. See you next time! We've learned so much in just one video. Did you know there are many more videos? Imagine how much you could learn. Subscribe to the Smile and Learn educational channel to learn and have fun at the same time.